Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and with me is our County Manager, Jim Nichols. And welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. And gosh, you mentioned right before the program, you've been here a couple of months. Mm-hmm. Boy, time flies, doesn't it?
Yes, it
It's
definitely
amazing.
does.
It definitely does fly. And I was thinking, oh, well, Jim's only been here a few weeks, but yeah, it's a couple of months. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So you have integrated into the job. Mm-hmm. You're enjoying it, I assume?
Very much so. It's as fun today as it was the first day.
So living the dream.
As they say, yes, I am.
Okay, well, let's get to the Board of Commissioners meeting. This was the November 6th meeting, mm-hmm. and at that meeting you made a presentation. I believe it was your first presentation.
Correct, yes.
To the commissioners, mm-hmm. and that was on the process to select a new clerk-treasurer for Douglas County. And why don't you describe that process to us?
As I told the board, there's no better way to start off a presentation than by tackling an easy and non-controversial topic like the clerk-treasurer appointment. So this is obviously an issue that has garnered a lot of public interest, a lot of public concern. And to be very candid, I was very pleased with both the board's reaction and their direction to me, as well as the comments we received from the public during the meeting. Everything was very positive, and my hope and expectation is that through this process that I'll now outline, we'll end up with a solid list of candidates for the board to choose from.
Okay.
But basically, what I outlined for the board is that the recruitment process for the new clerk-treasurer would be addressed through my office, and I would be looking to appoint a citizens committee, or a committee comprised of citizens and or business owners from Douglas County. I had initially proposed 5, and the board suggested I consider up to 7, which I took that direction. So up to 7 folks will be on this committee, and we'll be looking for folks with experience in finance, accounting, municipal treasury, public administration, and even notary work. Not that we're limited to that, but those are some of the credentials that might assist with someone working on our committee. The committee will review the credentials and documentation of all the candidates and then rank them in order of most qualified to least based on education and experience requirements deemed appropriate for the position. And that's something that my office will be providing to the committee members for their consideration. They'll also determine if there are any candidates who just don't meet the basic credentials for this position. We would then look to have the top 8 candidates, as ranked by that committee, participate in a public reception, public forum where they'll be allowed to give brief presentations on their background and offer some insight as to why they believe they are best qualified for the clerk-treasurer position. We would try to keep those less than 10 minutes or so. And then that would be additional information that we would utilize in further ranking and screening candidates. We would welcome the participation, or I should say the viewing of this event by the community at large, so that the general public would have the chance to watch and even give their comments, similar to what was done in the county manager recruitment that led to me being hired here. And then my citizens committee will utilize all the information at hand to then offer me the top 5 candidates as they see them based on this additional information received at the forum. And then I would take those 5 candidates, I would do some further screening, maybe some reference checks or background checks, employment history, things of that nature. Some of the industry standards, you might say, in the human resources arena, and just verify that the 5 candidates do qualify. And then I would be providing up to the top 5 candidates to the board for their consideration. At that point, the board can take any number of actions. They can choose a candidate and appoint them to the clerk-treasurer position. They can ask me to start the process over. They can decide to conduct individual or public interviews with the candidates. Really, it's at their discretion at that point. And my hope is, as far as the timeline goes, that we will have these up to 5 candidates to the board sometime in January. That's my hope, and that's the plan moving forward. So it's a pretty aggressive schedule. We have to recruit for these committee members.
Sure.
We also are going to, and I committed to the board that we would briefly reopen the recruitment for clerk-treasurer candidates because it closed, I believe, in September. That's a long gap between that period and where we are right now. So we'll need to verify that current candidates are still interested and available for the position and find out if there are any new candidates who wish to come forward. But it's a pretty elaborate process, as you hear, but I think the public will be pleased with the outcome, and I believe the board will have the information they need to select the person best suited as the next clerk-treasurer.
No, it sounds like a very solid process, and as you say, very similar to the county manager's
Yes.
process. And so, and people were very happy with that, so the reason they shouldn't be happy with this. The only thing that seems to be hanging out there in the wind is the previous clerk-treasurer
Right.
who was reelected.
Correct.
And has he resigned yet?
As of this moment, the filming of this show, no, he is not, that I'm aware of. But you're right, that is the wild card in this process, is that technically he must again resign. Otherwise, he automatically does take on that position next year. So my hope is that if that's his intent, resignation is his intent again, is that we would receive that information sooner than later, because I really wouldn't want to go through this entire process only to find out that we have a slate of candidates and it was all for naught because he decides the former clerk treasurer would like to resume that position again.
Yeah, very interesting. So, yeah, things are coming at you from a lot of different directions, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
Well, good luck with all that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I hope that all goes well. Also, at that meeting of the 6th, commissioners heard a request from the town of Minden. It was on placement of stop signs within the town of Minden, also establishing new speed limits in certain areas of the town. And how did that all go?
That was a very lengthy and heavily debated subject, or set of subjects. And the reason I'm smiling is because it just was, I think, more, not controversial, but more heavily debated than I think anyone expected. Really, what the town was looking for, and I don't want to speak for them, but they were looking for the freedom and the ability to set speed limits within the town, excluding county roads, down to, I think, 15 miles per hour,
Right.
where they chose. And they did have some particular roads in mind, but the way the recommendation was written, it gave them carte blanche throughout the town. And then there were also some specific stop sign locations that they were interested in, based on public comment and sentiment regarding safety within some of the neighborhoods there. It really, as I said, was heavily debated because there are pros and cons back and forth on both sides of the decision. Ultimately, what the board charged me with and the direction I received is to work on a process or to establish the process by which the town of Minden would have the freedom to set their own speed limits rather than having to ask that of the board. There's also the same issue regarding traffic control, which includes signage, pavement markings, even signals for that matter. And that is also part of the mix as far as working with the town and coming up with changes that would allow them to have greater control over their own, we'll say, traffic destiny. And that's something I'm still waiting to work on with their town manager. And I don't know how it's going to play out or what we're going to do. This is still a bit new, and but the board was clear that they would like the town to have greater ability to regulate themselves. And so we want to see how we can make that happen without necessarily completely giving up our role in the process.
That's interesting. So the town, the way it sits right now, has to come to the commission to make those kinds of changes.
Yes.
But the commission wants to give that power to the town.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And in fairness, some of the other neighboring towns have some of those powers themselves, and so Minden, you might say, was singled out in some of these areas. And so to be consistent in how we work with all our jurisdictions in the area, we'd like to see if we can create a system that makes it fair across the board for everyone.
Okay. Okay, at that meeting, commissioners also heard a report on the 2013-2014 community grant activities. That's the people who were granted money by the commission last year. And then they went and funded $165,000 worth of community grants.
Yes. Another well-debated subject.
They're all
And-
well debated.
Well, consent usually isn't. So it was actually a very positive set of discussions that occurred. Really, the board demonstrated their ability to work well together, and they all came to the table with different ideas of how much they would want to allocate to various nonprofit agencies throughout the community, all of whom are well deserving. And the board came together and worked through their different perspectives to agree on a set of dollar values for those who'd applied for funding. And so in the end, it was a very, though as I said, though it was a lengthy discussion, it was worthwhile in the end. And we have a significant number of service organizations in the community who will be receiving funds to better serve the needs of various groups within Douglas County.
And I guess we should point out, too, that this $165,000 was money that was left over in the budget, as it were. It was budgeted but not spent.
Correct.
So the money is put back in the community through these service groups.
Correct.
And as you pointed out, we do have a tremendous amount of service groups doing a lot of good work in the
Yes.
community. So it is money well spent, that's
Yes.
for sure.
And those different groups help to meet various needs that we would struggle to take on ourselves,
Sure.
but recognize that it's still important as part of having a happy and healthy community that those needs are met.
What if a year came up where all the money got spent, and I guess the community groups would be kind of shut out of their
Potentially.
funds?
Well, as I understand it, though, I believe this year, or this pot of money was actually budgeted more so than in the past, where it was, that's why we're able to take this on earlier than we have in recent years. So I think
Also-
this funding was actually specifically set aside.
Put in the budget.
Exactly.
I see.
Based on projected revenues we expected versus what we thought we'd need. So this was something that was a bit more predictable than in previous years.
Okay, very good. At the November 6th meeting, commissioners approved the 2014 airport revenue bonds. That's for improvements at the Minden Tahoe Airport. And what kind of improvements are we looking at there?
Well, and I'm glad we're getting to talk about this because it's an important project for the continued development and prosperity of the airport. The improvements that are being looked at, well, the funding is for the design and construction of utilities throughout the airport, or around the airport, at the airport, regarding water, sewer, and electric lines. And those will allow continued development there. I don't want the public to start worrying that we're about to accept commercial flights or anything like that, but it will further the development at the airport and allow it to continue its successful operation there.
Now, the commission meeting scheduled for Thursday, November 20th at Lake Tahoe has been canceled, and I was
Correct.
wondering what the reason was for that.
Well, it's a series of conflicts that have come up. First, we have a NACO conference that two of the board members will be attending, and I will also, and that occurs during the same week as our meeting. We were going to try to reschedule for the following week, but with that being the Thanksgiving holiday, it's just has become too difficult to try and coordinate everyone who would need to be involved, and so we just decided instead we are going to cancel that meeting and we'll cover all the business the following month.
I see. That would be the December 4th meeting.
Right, and then the Lake Tahoe business will still occur at the second December meeting as well.
Right. And any preview of what might be on the agenda for December 4? I know it's kind of early.
Yeah, the one thing I can offer is that at this point I'm expecting the item regarding Minden speed limit and traffic control to be coming back to the board at the December 4th meeting. So right now that's the only preview I have, but I'm fairly confident that unless some issue arises, we'll be bringing that back to them at that point.
Okay. I want to thank you, Jim, for all the information you shared about the November 6th meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. That's what we do here on the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera for County Manager Jim Nichols, and we'll see you next time right here on the County Manager's Report.